In 5:15, I'd like to call the March 3rd Board of Public Works meeting to order. Stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the adoption or the agenda?
No changes.
Sorry about that. Looking for a motion then?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Dorsey to adopt the agenda. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You're adopted. Public input. Public input, seeing none. Look for February 3rd meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Barrington to approve the February 3rd meeting minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is also carried. Wastewater treatment plan updates, Mr. Gursky.
Yeah, so not a lot on the docket today, just continuing to work with Donahue on that preliminary compliance alternative plan. Been going back and forth, Ben and Mike, sharing data and going over certain numbers that Mike needed to put in the equation to start putting a plan together. The key is to have this plan submitted to the DNR by June 30th, so we should be looking for it soon to be in front of us to kind of go over what they're thinking as far as the direction we should head with any type of update on the plan. They had their audit on February 6th. The DNR came in, ran through all their testing procedures, and it went really well. They passed everything that they tested them on, and that all went well. So I believe that is an every 3-year audit. So they're doing good there. Ben talks a little bit about the melting snow and ice and the issues that the cold snaps gave them with certain things freezing up on the digesters and some of their systems. But with the warming of the weather has helped out their issues that they had with that. However, it does tend to bring in extra clear water when the melting starts. They also Ben had an interview with an intern. She reached out, wanted to know if there was any opportunity for her to intern at the plant. There's already a line item in the budget for an intern. It's nice to see because you definitely do not see that nowadays with anyone actually wanting to be in that career field. But she went through the interview, and when she's out of school, Ben will take her on. And like he talked about, there's a lot of good learning opportunities out there that she can help with, and they're actually looking forward to having extra help on some of this stuff. That's pretty much the does anybody have any questions?
Any further questions for Robert? If not, thanks, Robert, for the updates, and it's good to see you got an intern, like you said. Not a lot of interest when you put out applications for that kind of job anymore. All right. Consider for approval or stormwater management plan with Celestial Hills LLC and Ingrid LLC. Mr. Gursky?
Okay, for this one, I'll kind of lean on Chad a little bit too on some of the stuff. I don't know if you want to lead off, Chad?
Sure, I can. So this stormwater management plan is regarding the Celestial Hills development that Randy Retzloff has on the south side of town. You can see on the aerial here, this is the location where he's got the 6 apartment complexes, and then he extended Southland Lane for the 20 single family, or the planning commission is looking at rezoning these for R2 2-family residential units. But you can see here, he's got a stormwater pond that's on private property. And because the development was such a large development, the DNR stormwater management regulations kicked in. So he had to create his engineers created a stormwater management plan for managing the runoff or the rainwater that came on the site, and it all ends up in this pond over here. So we've been working with Randy on that for a while, and you can kind of see in your packet is the agreement, stormwater management practices maintenance agreement. It ties to and links to the management plan that his engineers had to create. But it basically says that he's responsible for the maintenance of his retention pond. We put that on the private developer. It's his private pond. We do have some rights and responsibilities to make sure that he is maintaining that pond appropriately. So it talks about, we can go in there and check it out, and he's supposed to be taking regular we're doing logs and inspections of his pond. All the stormwater piping that's on the private side, I think we got the plat in here. Yeah. So maybe not the best picture, but there is stormwater pipes that run throughout his development. It starts with the apartment complexes and goes down in. There's a pipe that runs here between lots 19 and 20, and then it ties into the city stormwater system here. The city is responsible for the maintenance and cleaning of the utilities, the stormwater facilities that are right of way. But Randy, well, not Randy, but the development is responsible for the maintenance and cleaning and everything else of the facilities that are on the private side. What took us a little bit longer on this, Randy was trying to figure out if he was just going to have the apartments pay for it, or if he was going to create an HOA to have everybody have some skin in the game, and they're going to take the route of creating an HOA for all these new lots. So everybody's going to have some responsibility financially for the maintenance of the facilities that he's got going on here. So they've got that HOA kind of figured out, talks about that in the plan. The only other thing I'll add is that the plan is tied to his grant agreement. We have a TID grant because we created a TID district over there. And this is the last checkbox that we have for requirements to pay his first TID payment. We haven't paid his first TID payment because we're waiting on getting this agreement finalized and signed. So once this is actually executed, then we can actually release his first TID payment for his development. So any questions with that?
Does he have, excuse me, does he have any responsibility for putting a fence around the retaining ponds, or is that completely up to him?
That's up to him.
Okay, I was just
Private
wondering.
property.
Yeah, I'd be curious about that, because there's so many around with all the little kids and stuff running around. You think you'd almost, because you have an outdoor swimming pool, they have to have a fence around it.
Mhm.
So, but just curious.
No different than a pond or a lake out there. You don't have fencing around everything, but it's up to his response. It's up to him if he wants to do that and put that around there.
He's responsible if anybody gets hurt.
Private property.
Any further questions for Chad? If none, I'd look for a motion to consider approval of the stormwater management plan with Celestial Hills and Ingrid.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Herder, second by Mr. Dorsey, to consider for approval of stormwater management plan with Celestial Hills LLC and Ingrid LLC. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is also carried. Approve and recommend to council DTAC brush agreement for 2025.
So for this one, it's pretty much the same agreement as it's been over the last 4 years, or 3 years, I should say. That they'll take all the brush that we bring out there under normal circumstances. Of course, any work that or any massive amounts of brush that we take out during like a storm where we have a lot of down trees and stuff like that, that would not cover that type of operation. The contract price went up by $500 this year. Never excited about anything going up in price, but as of now, this is kind of the path we're on until two things. We find room for our brush to where we can contain it ourselves without having to move it multiple times, and seeing if we can bring in somebody to chip it, because based off of the amount of brush that we've had last year, I mean, last year is down some, but we're still getting quite a bit of brush in. To try to chip it in houses with minimal staffing is next to impossible. And it would be nice to have that space to where if we could find room to store it, that is the biggest thing, to where we could look at bringing in a mobile grinder and have it ground that way. That would be another option, but as of now, we're kind of stuck in our small area without having to move it multiple times, and then you're kind of taking any savings out of the equation if you're moving it multiple times to get it to the location to have somebody else grind it. So as of now, I'm recommending that we go with this contract or this agreement and continue things as they have been over the last few years.
Questions on that?
So we have a card now to get in the gate. You're selling passes. So you're saying that it hasn't reduced the quantity of brush that's been coming in?
The bigger items it has, but the amount of like limbs, I think last year a lot of it was from the snowstorm we got right at the end of the year, took a lot of pine down. And we saw a lot of pine at the beginning and through, I would say through June. And I think that added to the amount of volume that we had to start. From there, it was manageable stuff, but when it's coming in little trailer loads, all those little trailer loads start adding up, and it's very hard to try to do that in house to keep up with it.
But to Tim's point too, with the cards, when the cards were enacted, we saw several townships come by because those people weren't able to drop off anymore. So we started getting money from multiple townships now, number one. But number two, that prevented the contractors from dropping off the major amounts of brush and logs and stuff like that. So yes, we did see more we were able to regulate it more, with that.
I was just saying, like, since there's less brush, wouldn't the price come down? It's been the same. That's is what it is.
No, it's held true the last 2 years, right?
22 is 12, 23 was 12,
So, yeah.
24 is 12, and now for 25 is 12.5.
Any further questions? If none, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to honor the contract. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Herder. To approve and recommend to council the DTAC brush agreement for 2025. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's also carried. Discussion on city snow plowing. Robert?
All right. So, so a lot of, in our last snow event, I was brought up to speed on some of the social media posts and, some of the stuff that's out there, some phone calls that I received or messages that, were forwarded to me about different methods on how to prevent windrows at the end of driveways. Different contraptions you saw on loaders, also heard of different methods like, the dip in and grab, so you get some of it. So going off of everything I've seen, I put together this brief summary that I had in my memo. To wrap it all up, a lot of these videos that are put out there have a lot of factors that do not play or involve streets like we have here. You notice they're narrower streets, so you're removing a lot less snow and putting that to the side. You notice almost everything is set back in the terrace area to where it will not affect when they drop the swing to grab the windrow and bring it up onto the side. If you were to try to implement that on a 37-foot wide street that we have here, when you're talking multiple passes, you're dealing with a front plow that, sure, it can turn whichever direction you want. Hydro turn plow is great, but when you're needed in a fixed position because you're also carrying a fixed wing to put that snow in one pass to the side, it would take multiple passes. And then when you're sitting at a incline grade on your driveway apron and a 2% road pitch going into it, and you go in to dip in there with a hydro turn plow on your second or third pass, you're gonna gouge the apron. If it's concrete, you have a good chance of taking out some of the asphalt if it's an asphalt. And if you're running into any of these few that we have left out there that are gravel, you're making a huge hole in that apron area. Not to mention, you're gonna catch about half of that windrow. Not even the whole thing. You're gonna be the force of the laws of force and the way you push against the pile. You're only, even with your wing tip like this or your plow tip like this, half of it's gonna push further up your driveway, and you're still gonna be left with a windrow of some sort. There are a lot of apparatuses out there and some communities use them. I don't know of any around here that use them. And again, if you're looking at implementing anything to try to alleviate these windrows, you're talking more time, extra equipment, more equipment as far as plows go, and trying to find staffing to run those extra hours to alleviate a windrow at the end of the driveway. So I wanted to kind of do this write up, put it out there, answer any questions that you may have had about this, but it's not even close to feasible to try to prevent a windrow at the end of the driveway in a snow event. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to say thank you for the explanation. I feel a lot of those phone calls every snowfall. Thank you.
We had like two.
I had quite a few.
No, I had like 2 snowfalls.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to agree
I
with
remember-
Mr. Garsky and run a plow, and I know it'd almost be impossible. Like you said, so much extra time to get the town done. So
Maybe a different story if you're on the country where you had a driveway every quarter mile or something,
And a ditch to put it in.
right? Any further discussion on that? Thanks to Robert for at least bringing it up and so people can understand that we're not just blowing stuff off, you know, we got some thought and everything. Thank you. Director's report?
Yeah, one, service anniversary, Lane Hannadel, wastewater operator two. Completing 4 years of service on March 15th. Oshkosh Streets, if you went past it today, you see the northern portion is shut down through traffic. Kind of put together, I worked with the contractor to kind of put together staging of the barricades to inform people out by Pershing Street. So when they're coming into town from the south to the north, they know that, hey, something's going on. I didn't want to fully block off that section to keep it accessible, and that's kind of the purpose of staging this in a couple phases. Do provide road closed on 8-foot barricades at most cross intersections, just so any cross traffic that's not aware of the road being posted through traffic to the northern portion is aware of it before they get down to the end and realize they can't get through. The plan is this week, they put in erosion control today, as well as staging of the barricades tomorrow. Depending on weather, they would like to, what they're gonna do is hydro down some sleeves and start a couple wells down here by Wolf River Avenue. That way they won't have to disturb a lot of the asphalt sections to try to alleviate the bulk of the precipitation that's coming to infiltrate into the ground. So they'll hydro these wells in and start running pumps. They'll be mobilizing a good portion of their equipment and some of their materials they need this week to hopefully break ground on the 10th to start on the sanitary main. That's the goal, but we'll see what the next 2 days produce as far as weather. Also, House and Alcan Road, the state pushed that bidding off a month, so now that bid will be on March 11th. So they'll open those bids on the 11th. We'll kind of see where we sit with that project as far as who the contractor will be, what kind of unit pricing we got on that project. Also been in contact with the state on some of our storm facilities for the 2026 projects. The Highway 54 intersection with Shawano Street, there was some questions about who's taking care of what, as far as structures and mainline storm and items like that. So we've been kind of going back and forth. So look for maybe in the next couple months, some agreements with the state on, of course, we would have to take care of our own sanitary adjustments, but that's simple rain adjustments for our structures. They're in good shape, but as far as some of the other storm structures that are out there. And I think that's it. Well, actually, Paca County put out a thing. They're having a annual meeting. So all you board members are invited to the meeting next Monday at 6 p.m. Just let me know either before you leave tonight or tomorrow. Call me, email me, so I can give my heads up if any of you would like to attend that annual meeting at their garage in Wapaka. And that is all I have for this evening.
Robert, can you just go back to Oshkosh and reiterate, because we got some questions about Oshkosh and Washington, that intersection, you just want to talk about the access to the middle school?
Yeah, so the intersection of Washington Street will remain open until June 9th. Any work that is done will end before that intersection. And when they switch phases and start with any of the road construction portion of the first phase, they will jump that intersection and continue with the utility work on the south side of the intersection, working towards the south. And at that time, you'll start to see some of these other side streets start to shut down. And I'm expecting it, again, it all depends on the weather, but they're kind of looking at that mid to late May as jumping that intersection and working more towards the south.
So I had a resident on Oshkosh Street today ask me about their garbage disposal when they're doing the construction. What are they supposed to be doing with their garbage cans? Will there be garbage trucks going down those streets?
Yeah, and anytime anyone has any questions, you can refer them to the website and have them click right on the main page is the public informational meeting that I had with them. And I kind of explained it there too, but it's always a good reference if you get through all the other talk about everything else. It's towards the end. But I worked with GFL and they plan on hitting that street first thing in the morning. So around 6 o'clock. So I urged all the residents when I talked to them to have your can out the night before. They'll still have access to it if you have equipment or work going on directly in front of your property. Have it to a side street or within 15 foot of any of that that's going on, and they still will be able to collect it from that street.
Okay, thank you.
As we go along and it gets more towards the curb and gutter work or some of the asphalt work, I'll definitely be putting it out on social media if anything changes, because I'll be working with the trash company as well, so.
I don't know if I missed it, but going forward, we're gonna be doing from Wolf River Avenue all the way to Becker. You're gonna have like streets to go, Jennings, Washington periodically to go across, right? I mean, you wouldn't have to go all the way up to Becker or all the way down to Wolf River Avenue to get across, would you?
And we're only going to Pershing, so, but still, that's quite a clip to get around. And that's why we're leaving those open as much as possible until we get to them. And then the expectation is people don't utilize them all the time. The barricades will be staggered and it's not supposed to be two through traffic. But if you're there, I'm not gonna encourage it, but if you're right across the street and need to get to your driveway, then yes, there will be access, but we want to shut those down. So when there's all the work going on through those intersections, it's gonna be probably faster to go around because those are gonna be fairly rough because the intersections have the bulk of the work.
So we're not going all the way to Becker, we're just stopping at Pershing.
Pershing's
The whole project?
No.
Okay.
yes.
'Cause I know originally it was supposed to be all the way to Becker, wasn't it?
This has always been the Pershing
Oh,
for this year's project.
cause I thought there was like TID money going towards it.
There's TID money going towards Oshkosh. We'll see what the increment has coming in that we can do when needed from Pershing to Becker. And then we also talk about maybe hitting something on Becker in the future. But that's in a future project. This year is just because this was tied to the grant, and Oshkosh from Wolf River Avenue to Pershing is considered a collector, and that was eligible for this LRIP grant. From Pershing to Becker, the traffic on Oshkosh goes down quite a bit, and I don't think that section is considered a collector street in that section. So that section of several blocks was not eligible for the grant. So that's why we're targeting this one right now.
And it's only 2 blocks.
This one.
It's the 1800 and 1900 block.
And that one's, I think the Pager rating was a little bit better on that section right now.
It was, yes.
It's considerably better. It's one of the better roads in town.
But yes, to your point, we do have TID money that in the future we can start, using for other projects as well.
Except for the stop sign.
True.
Well, it's just that like,
True.
where I live, it's kind of hard to get, you know, like I said, it'd be nice if we had a road that you could go across Washington, Jennings or whatever. Because you otherwise gotta go all the way through Cedarhurst to Persian and back down, and it's just, it's kind of like that side of the town is kind of trapped, you know what I mean?
And like Robert said, you'll be able to get through.
Okay.
For, you know, when it's open, but when it's active construction, it's construction. You know, that's why he's keeping Washington open quite a bit throughout the project.
The goal is to have everything from Washington to the north then completed by July 4th. And that's when that other end will be in a lot more disarray, so you won't have to go all that way. You'll be able to still utilize Washington. This Washington, out of all intersections, is gonna have the shortest shutdown time. As soon as they are able to shut it down, they'll take and go in there, do all the work they need to do, and then include it in that first phase, so it's all completed and reopen way before school starts.
People always way to find the shortcuts, just like they do when we're doing the downtown here. You'll find a ways to.
I know we got a big baseball tournament coming the first week of August, you know, the state Legion tournament's gonna be at Hatton, so. That's gonna be kind of a fork in the, there's gonna be a lot of people in town.
Might be able to work with them on one street or something, keeping that street open for that. How many days was that tournament gonna be? For just a
I
weekend?
think it's just for that week or whatever.
Yeah, they might be able to open up a street or something for that.
Starts on Thursday and ends on Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. We got time to get there though. You said the north side will be done?
Any further discussion? Next is future agenda items.
Still working on garbage. In my spare time, I don't take it lightly by any means, but there's a lot of work involved in that too, and I'm trying to get at it, but that will stay on the agenda for a future item.
And I will vouch for Robert, he's been a little bit busy for Oshkosh Street as of late, so, and finishing up downtown yet.
I'm worried about
Downtown, there's
snowball.
still paperwork getting finished up too, so.
Well, we wouldn't be able to do anything with garbage until next budget anyway, correct?
Probably that would make more sense, you know, started at a full calendar year with the tax rate and everything, so. But to be determined, like Robert said, still a priority and not taking it lightly, but
Right.
it's something, if and when you guys decide, if you just decide to go with that. The other consideration is when you would start. That'd be another thing to talk about.
If anybody else has any future agenda items, just let one of us know and we can look into it also. Next Board of Public Works meeting is April 7th at 5:15.
If that is okay with everybody, I'd like to push it off to that date instead of trying to do it on the 31st. I am going to try to be on vacation the last week of March.
Oh, you can't do that.
Tell me about it. Thank you, contractors. But it would also help out Nicole because elections are the first and she'll be able to set things up in here and be ready to go for the first.
Should be fine.
So I think we're still targeting to do finance personnel on the 2nd, like Robert said, Board of Public Works on the 7th, but since elections are on the 1st, we'll have to push Parks and Rec, so we might do Parks and Rec and Public Works this week, 7th and 8th, but still keep finance on the 2nd. That's kind of what we're talking right now.
I don't see no issue with that. If nothing more on the agenda, looking for a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second? Oh, I didn't hear you. Sorry about that. I thought you were clearing the throat. Motion made by Mr. Ritchie for adjournment, second, Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying